Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the brand new Mezco 112 Collective Knightmare Batman. And this figure has a pretty interesting story because they announced him a while back and then they said that they were going to cancel it for whatever reason. I assume because the Batman vs Superman movie wasn't as popular as people expected. So they decided to cancel this, and then fans went crazy. They got all mad at Mezco and they kind of pressured them into releasing it. So then they decided to do it as like a Mezco site exclusive. And then a bunch of people ignored it, like always with Mezco. And then, they sold out. And once they sold out and started to come out, everybody wanted it. And now a bunch of people are paying crazy money for it on eBay. And it is what it is. That's how it goes with Mezco figures. But let's get right into the review here, starting with the packaging. And I really like the packaging. It's a lot smaller than the typical Mezco package, and it looks really nice. On the camera here, it's coming up a little white, but all this is more of like a cream color. But it looks really cool. You got the Batman vs Superman logo here in the center, 112 Collective at the top. You got the Mezco exclusive sticker here, DC, Knightmare, Batman, all that cool stuff. And then on the side of the box, you get a Batman logo. And another thing that's really cool on this box is you could see some wear. It looks like it's kind of damaged and stuff. I think that's a really cool effect and kind of fits in with the theme of the figure itself. But yeah, check that out. That looks really cool. So pretty good stuff there. And then on the back, you get a really awesome looking picture of Knightmare Batman himself. And like I always say, I'm a big fan of the collector friendly packaging, so I like this box a lot. I like the fact that it's way smaller than the big huge Mezco boxes that at this point they're a hassle to deal with. They've kind of piled up in my garage. But I really wish that they'd go to the small packaging here for all of their releases. It'd be cool if they kind of made this a window box somehow, but even if they didn't, I'd still prefer the smaller package. So just to change it up a little bit, I was just working on this diorama, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to do the articulation portion of this review on the dio here, and I really hope you guys enjoy that. But let's get into it. So the articulation is really limited on him, mostly because of the jacket, and it's really just mostly in the arms and in the shoulders. Everything else is pretty much okay or standard for like a Mezco figure, but the arms are very limited, so we'll get to that in just a second here. But let's take a look at the head. It's able to move side to side. It's got some nice tilt to it. It could kind of rotate around, and then he could look up a pretty nice amount. He could look almost all the way up, actually. Check that out. And then he could look down. He could put his chin into his chest there. So that's good. And then his torso, it's got the two joints where it has the mid-torso joint and then the waist joint. And using those together, you could kind of get him to crunch to about there. It's really not too much, but it's not horrible. And then you're able to go back to about there. And then you're able to twist side to side using the two joints. You're able to tilt and just kind of rotate around. So it's pretty good there at the torso. I do wish it could crunch a little bit more, but everything else is pretty good as far as tilting, twisting, and going back. And so for his arms, you're able to go forward to about there. That's about as far as you could go. You might be able to push it some more, but I really don't want to risk ripping this at all. And then you could get it to go back to about there. And he does have like the Mezco butterfly type of joint, so you get some shoulder back and forth movement, as you could see. And then you could get his arms to come out to the side. And he has the upper bicep swivel. You have double jointed elbows, but again, that's kind of restricted too. You could only get it to go to about there. And then you do have a swivel here at the glove, a swivel at the wrist, and a hinge at the wrist. And then for his legs, let's see what we got here. You can't really get him to do the splits because his pants here kind of stop you. But his legs do come out all the way to the side, so you can get some pretty nice side kick action there. And then you can get him to go forward to about there. But you can get him to go back to about there. And then you have the double jointed knees. You have a swivel at the boot. And then at the foot, you have a swivel. You could go down, point forward to about there, point up to about there. And they do rock pretty good too, check that out. Pretty much as good as like Deathstroke, which I think has the best Mezco ankle so far. So that's really nice. It's good to see that they didn't drop the ball on the ankles for Batman here. But yeah, like I said, the articulation is really limited because of the jacket. And they made it so that you can't remove the jacket, which kind of sucks. But it's not a huge deal. It just would have been nice. So that's it for the articulation. It's pretty nice in general, but it's definitely hindered by the jacket. And for accessories, he comes with a couple cool things, including a few sets of hands. So first off, he comes with a pair of fists. And then he comes with a couple of gripping hands. One of them is like a gun gripping hand, and the other one is just a loose gripping hand that he could possibly use to hold on to the end of his rifle. And then he comes with like an open, dramatic type of hand, but he only has one of them and it's for his right side. And he comes with two different guns. One of them is just a handgun and the other one is a rifle. And just so you guys know, the hand that I mentioned before that could be used to grip onto the end of his rifle can also be used to grip onto the actual guns, because the hands are soft enough plastic. So I'm glad that that worked out like that, and you could have him holding both of his guns. And then it comes with the little muzzle flare that we first saw with the PX Punisher. And yes, it's able to fit into both of these guns. And he comes with three different heads, the first one being like a screaming crazy looking face. I think this head is going to be really popular and he's going to be awesome for like dramatic looking shots. And then he comes with this head that is just a regular head, and I believe that it's the same head that came with the standard Batman vs Superman Batman figure. And then he has an unmasked Bruce Wayne head. And I think this looks good. I don't necessarily think that it looks like Ben Affleck, but I do think that it looks pretty cool. And then he also comes with these really nice looking goggles, but it doesn't look like you could get them over the eyes really. It looks like it's intended for them to just kind of hang out on the top of his head. You can kind of like, you know, slowly kind of work them back to get on there, but I'd suggest being very, very careful so you don't tear the strap. Maybe heat it up a little bit if you want it to be a little bit more stretchy or something, but I'd say definitely be careful, because it seems like that wasn't really the intention, that they kind of were just meant to sit on the top of his head. But if you could get them onto his face, they do look pretty cool. And since the unmasked head is a lot smaller, the goggles do slide right onto there, and that looks pretty awesome actually. And taking a closer look at the details on the accessories, I really like what they did with the goggles here. I like that the lenses have like a foggy, messed up look to them, and I like the gold like around the rim of the lens. And then you have some gray work there. And then even on the inside, they got like that cream color that you usually see like on these type of glasses. It would be like that padded part to like make it comfortable on the face, or that's what it kind of feels like they were going for anyways. Looks pretty cool. The strap is nothing special, just you know, like a brown strap. But yeah, these glasses look really cool. I like them a lot. And then here's a look at the pistol, and the pistol looks really nice, but it doesn't have the removable magazine or the piece that cocks back, but it still looks really good. I like the woodwork here they did on the handle, and the gun itself looks really nice. You got some paint work right there, and yeah, it looks really good. But I wonder why they didn't do it with the removable magazine on this one. That really sets Mezco apart when it comes to weapons. Not too many people do things like that, but they chose not to do it here for some reason. But it's still okay. This pistol still looks nice. And here's a look at the rifle, and this thing looks great, but with Mezco, I'm always worried with the barrel on these type of guns. I really feel like if you got Batman holding this and he falls forward and it lands on this thing could just snap. It does feel like a little bit brittle, but so you kind of want to be careful there. But other than that, this thing is awesome. I love the way they got the Joker card here. On mine, it looks like the paint is slightly chipped in the corner, but it could just be like you know, the effect of it being taped on there. And I do like the way this looks. It looks like actual duct tape. That's really cool. And then up here on this bandana, it looks like there's little bats on there. It's kind of hard to see, but it looks like there's little bats, and that looks nice. It's like tied here at the bottom. Aside from those two things, the gun is pretty much just a regular rifle, and it looks really good. You got a lot of nice sculpt work in here, a little bit of paint wear detail. The magazine comes out, and you're able to see the bullets in there, and that's awesome when they do that. So I'm glad they did it here on the rifle. And yeah, everything else looks really nice. Check it out. I do like this thing, but like I said, I'm always hesitant to display my Mezco figures with their rifles because I don't want them to fall and break the barrel, because that would suck. And then of course you got the muzzle flare that looks really nice. You got the bullet at the end there, and then you have the flame effect towards the bottom. And it does look really nice, but this thing is really, really fragile. I've actually had one break on me before from one of my Punisher figures, so you want to be really careful, but you could definitely get it in there on both of the guns. So it's an awesome effect, but you know, it kind of sucks that this thing is so brittle. Actually, when mine broke, it just was tightened to the barrel, and I put it in there and kind of like twisted it, and it just kind of snapped. So, but with this one here, I'm just going to be a lot more careful. But I do always appreciate this effect when they include it. And as always, it comes with the standard Mezco stand, and this thing is cool, but for me, they're just too big, so I don't really use them. They take up too much shelf space, but this does look nice. You have the Batman vs Superman logo here in the center, and it's the same one that we've seen with the other Mezco Batman vs Superman figures, and it's cool and stuff. But let's get right into how it works here. You got the peg in the center, and you could use this arm here to pop out the peg, and it pops right out. Stick this in there, and there you go. You could pose Batman on this stand And yeah, it's cool, you know, but I just don't use these things. And here's a look at Batman on the stand with the articulated arm, and it does look really cool. And to be honest, if I had the space, I probably would use these stands because they do look very nice, and you know, they do allow for some pretty cool posing, so check that out there. And here he is standing on the peg, and even just like that, he looks pretty cool. So these stands are definitely awesome. And now for some size comparisons. Here he is next to the Mezco Deathstroke and the Mezco Batman vs Superman Superman. And here is Batman alongside the Mezco Tiger Stripe Wolverine and the Mezco Classic Spider-Man. And then of course here he is with the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Movie Black Panther. And here he is next to the Mafex Homecoming Suit Spider-Man and one of the old school Mezco Hellboy figures. And now we have Knightmare Bats hanging out with the Marvel Legends Deadpool and Marvel Legends Deathlock, both from the Sasquatch Build-A-Figure wave. And here's a look at Knightmare Batman along with his Mezco BVS Batman brothers. And I love the way these three figures look together. And in my opinion, these Mezco versions are the best versions of these characters out there. Mafex has really great ones too. I love the armored Mafex figure, but it was a really good figure, but I didn't keep it. I did review it and I ended up selling it. Same thing with the standard release of Batman. And then I never picked up the Knightmare Mafex Batman because I saw this one was coming out and I knew that I was going to stick with these ones. And of course the Mafex ones are a little bit, you know, they're easier to handle and they're more posable, and they're great and everything. They're really fun figures, and I will admit that these figures aren't as fun to handle and pose, but I love the way they look, and these figures are still fun to pose and play with, but you just need to be a little bit more patient and a little bit more careful. But you could still get some really awesome poses out of these figures. So, you know, the way they look mixed with the ability they do have to pose and play with, it makes them my favorite ones. But the Mafex ones are awesome. I don't have any of the Mafex ones handy to compare them, but they're great figures. But I'll just have to say these ones are my favorite. And I know that it was covered in a lot of other reviews, but I just want to show that the heads can be interchanged between Knightmare Batman and the standard release. You can't put any of the heads on the armored version, and I'll show you why in just a second. But let me just pop this Bruce Wayne head on. And it does look pretty cool. You do now have a unmasked Bruce Wayne head for this body, but it does look a little bit small because I guess they wanted to make the head really seem like it could fit inside of his cowl. And you know, so it kind of looks a little bit strange, but it doesn't really look strange on Knightmare Batman because he has the scarf. But it does, putting it on this Batman makes it look like the neck is super thick. But you can put the other heads onto Batman. As you can see here, we'll take the screaming head off Knightmare Batman, stick it on the standard Batman, and you can see that it looks pretty awesome. Check that out. Now you have a regular Batman that with the screaming face, so he could run around and kill a bunch of people like he does in the movie, you know what I'm saying? And then you could throw this on here, and then you have just like a, you know, regular plain face Batman for your Knightmare Batman. So yeah, it's really cool. I like that they kept it like that. Didn't do anything crazy like change up the ball peg or the hole in the head. That would have been insane. So yeah, it's really cool. Now it's really dope that we have like more options for our different Batman figures. And let me show you what I meant for the armored Batman. He has a different kind of ball joint on the head here, and he has this so that you could kind of take this off and take the batteries in and out. But if you want, you can set the Bruce Wayne head on the neck, and there you go. I guess that kind of works. It'd be cool if it was sitting a little bit higher, but I guess with the right angle you could kind of make it work. Doesn't look too horrible. But yeah, there we go. These are really cool figures. Mezco really killed it on all three of these figures. The details on this figure, Mezco went all out like they're known to do on the 112 collective figures. There's a lot of cool things going on here. I love the little bullet indentations on the chest plate. I think that's so dope. It looks like he's kind of been through a couple wars. And the bodysuit under looks like it's pretty similar, if not exactly the same as the one from the standard release. And same thing with the belt. And it's just black with some gold details, and it looks really nice. Same thing as the boots. The boots are also the same boots that came on the standard release of Batman, and they look good. There's a lot of nice like texture and a little bit of paint details in there. It isn't just like a smooth boot, so that's cool. Then you got like gold on the toe here. You have some tread on the bottom of the feet. And one thing that they did that was kind of interesting to me is, for some reason they used a real strap here, but they didn't use real straps here. and I really wish they had. That's one thing I didn't like about the Green Arrow Mezco figures, is that it had like a bunch of straps and things like that, but none of them were soft goods. They were all plastic. So I really wish that they used soft goods here, 3A style. I think that would have been really nice. And on the arms here, you have the glove with like tattered rags kind of sculpted there, and that looks cool too. You have some texture here on the glove, very similar to the boots. You have these spikes on the outside, and all of it looks really, really nice. They really did a good job with all the little kind of things that they have hidden in here. You have the knee pads. A lot of people were concerned that these things would fall off, but I see no indication of that happening anytime soon. So that's a big plus, and these look cool. There's some green like paint details in there. Then you have the gun holster on the side. Check that out. That's nice, and you could fit the pistol in there. Kind of fits tight, so got to kind of work it in there. Be careful doing that, but it definitely gets in there, and it looks very nice. I do really like the way this jacket looks. I was concerned that the inside here would look messy and you'd see all kinds of strings and things going on, but you really don't. There are some exceptions like that there, and it looks like the jacket was supposed to be like sewn really close onto him, but on mine it wasn't. There's a blue string there that's attached to the figure and to the jacket, but it's pretty long. It's not really holding it there. On the other side, it's shorter, and it's kind of keeping the jacket closer to the body. And then the scarf is awesome. You could get it over his face if you work with it a little bit, but it doesn't come off, and that's kind of a weird choice. I don't know why they wanted to make everything so permanent. There's a lot of different options if they made it so that the scarf could come off or the jacket can come off, so I'm not sure why they didn't do that, but they decided to make it like this. But it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't, if all that stuff was able to come off, I'd probably take it off just to check it out and then put it back on and display it like this. So it's really not a big deal. And I am curious if the suit comes all the way down the arms or if they cut it off midway, because it would have made sense if they wanted to leave the jacket attached to the body, if they would have, sewn it better or in more places so that it actually stays there, and then don't put any additional material onto the ball joint, and then all you'd have is a jacket, and then maybe that would, allow for some more movement, because right now it seems like the bodysuit goes all the way down. And just to show you something real quick, they really don't want you to remove this jacket. Check this out. I was messing with it, and you could pull this arm off, and look at that. That's like glued on there. So they don't want you to get that jacket off there. It's gonna take some work. And I'm sure if you I don't want to say it. Never mind. What I was gonna say is I'm sure if you take all this apart, clean it up, then you could get the jacket off. And you could just take it on and off when you want to, but you'll just have to remove the arm, which isn't a big deal. But I don't know, I don't want people to chop up their figures like that, especially this figure that's going to become rare here pretty soon. But yeah, they really don't want you to take off that jacket. But yeah, I love all the details on this guy. Everything on him is awesome. And then for the jacket itself, it actually has a bendy wire that runs through it here, and you could get some really cool poses out of it. The bendy wire doesn't come to the end here. It stops right there, but it's very cool, and you could definitely get him into some really cool poses with that jacket. His jacket kind of flying in the back or whatever you want to do. And yeah, I really wish that they'd use the bendy wire technique more often, because it works really good here with Batman. And seeing this jacket really makes me want a Mezco Gambit. How awesome would that be? And the one thing though with this jacket is it does look a little clean, and for being a character that's supposed to be in like a post-apocalyptic crazy world with him running around fighting parademons and being crazy, he should have like a jacket that's kind of messed up and worn. And if that was the case, it would be like a little bit more comfortable playing with him, because then you wouldn't worry so much about ruining the jacket, especially if it just kind of looked ruined already, which it sounds kind of funny to say, but it works with the character, so why not, But they did attempt to add some detail to the jacket. You could see there's some like darker brown marks in there, and I think that's cool. You could see some more up here. There's a good one right there, but they're very hard to see. I do wish that there was more of that. I wish that the jacket looked a little bit more like, I don't want to say torn up, I don't want it like ripped, but I do wish that it looked a little bit more worn. That would make him a figure that's a little bit more comfortable to move around and play with, because you wouldn't be so worried about ruining the jacket. But when it looks so clean and nice, any kind of imperfections are going to stand out. So, you're going to be really stressed out and worried when you're playing with it. But yeah, overall, the jacket looks awesome, and I do love the way it looks. And here's a closer look at the head sculpts, and I love all three of these. They all look great. I like the screaming expression here on his face. I love that we could throw it on the other Batman. And yeah, it looks really cool. You can see there's some detail and texturing there. It actually looks like a dude wearing a mask. It doesn't look like a, you know, a toy. It almost looks like a real person wearing a mask, so that's awesome. And like I said before, you got the goggles here. They kind of just fit on there snug onto the top of his head, but if you want, you could kind of work them down onto his face, and they do look pretty cool. And here's a look at this head sculpt, and this head sculpt is really nice, but it's a little bit boring. I probably won't be displaying it with this head too much, but it does look really cool. It's very well done. I like all the details here on the cowl again, and I love the way that the eyes kind of look like there's moisture in them. You know, you kind of see a sparkle there with the lights pointing to them. And yeah, it's really good. It's very well done. All these head sculpts are very well done. And then here's the unmasked Bruce Wayne head, and I really don't think that it looks like Ben Affleck, but it does look really good. It kind of just works as a general Bruce Wayne head. I guess you could kind of see Ben in there, but I don't know, it's not like spot on or anything. But it looks fine. It doesn't look horrible. It doesn't look super way off base or anything. It looks decent. I just would say that they didn't really nail it when it comes to the likeness. But I do really like this head sculpt, and I especially like it when you throw the goggles on there. I showed that earlier, but let's just do that one more time because it looks cool. And yeah, I like that. I like the goggles on there. That looks cool. Check that out. But yeah, the head is very well done. The sculpt is nice. The paint is nice. You can see a little bit of like facial hair, just like a very faint 5 o'clock shadow there. And there's actually, you could actually kind of feel it. It looks like it's a little bit sculpted. Yeah, it's sculpted. It's not really just painted on there. And then his hair is, you know, nothing crazy. It looks good. It's black with a little bit of paint detail in there. So yeah, this head sculpt is very well done. I just don't think that it's necessarily a perfect representation of Ben Affleck. So overall, I really love this figure. I think that once again, Mezco did an amazing job. I know I say that pretty much every time that I review a Mezco figure, or at least most of the time anyways, but this Knightmare Batman, he really is amazing. I don't have any big complaints about him at all. There are a few little things that I wish were different. I do wish that the jacket was able to come off. I think that's really strange that they made it like permanent. Same thing with the scarf. It's really strange that they pinned it down because it'd be nice to be able to lift it up easier and get it over his face, or his lower face anyways. But yeah, you know, those are just small complaints. I only want the jacket to come off for like curiosity's sake. I'd probably remove it and put it right back on and then never take it off again. But it would be cool if that was able to come off, just to have some more display options. But they did give us a lot of display options. He came with 3 different heads. Then you could use the heads from the standard release. All kinds of cool stuff. So he's a really cool figure, and they just nailed it. And I love the fact that this thing even came out, because for a minute there, it looks like that they were going to cancel it. They decided to change it because of the fans, and that's one, like, you know, really nice example of like a company listening to its fans and coming out with something good. So I'm really happy that this figure came out as good as it did. Imagine if like Mezco listened to the fans and then put out a figure and then it sucked. You know, that would have been horrible. But that's definitely not the case here. They killed it, man. I love this figure so much. You know, I'm not going to say whether I like him better than the other BVS Batman figures, but, you know, I'm not a big fan of capes. Like, capes are cool and stuff like that, but I like characters that don't have capes for the most part. You know, but Batman, he needs a cape and stuff like that, but it's cool to have a really awesome looking Batman that doesn't have a cape that you could kind of pose and play with and don't have to worry about the cape falling all over the place, because he does have a jacket that falls all over the place, but it has bendy wires, so you're able to pose it, and it's just awesome. And it's really cool that they, even in the first place, considered putting this guy out, because he had such a small, or this look was such a small part of the movie, and we never really got an answer as to what that dream sequence was or whatever. And for me, that was one of the things I was most curious about when I saw the trailer. Why was he dressed like that fighting those parademons? You know, I thought maybe it wasn't Bruce Wayne or something, but you know, they didn't really go into it too deep in the movie or anything, but it was definitely a cool look. I'm always a fan of like characters in like a dystopian setting, you know, like, you know, this Old Man Logan, Hawkeye running around in Old Man Logan, or even like you know, Oliver Queen in Dark Knight Returns. I always like the warped dystopian version of like classic characters, and this Batman captures that really good. So I'm not necessarily a fan of the BVS movie, but I do love this figure a lot. I love the look, and I really can't wait to pose him with Old Man Logan. Even though they don't belong together or anything, I think they'd be cool to have like 2, you know, dystopian characters just hanging out together. So anyways, yeah, very happy about this figure, very happy to have it. Hopefully those of you out there that want it are able to get it. I know that it's a Mezco site exclusive and they're sold out, so hopefully people on the secondary market aren't going too crazy with it. I think I've seen it for about $250, and that's a little wild. Hopefully it kind of comes down and people are able to get it. But that's it. So thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.